Welcome to the pod.
You got this.
You can do this.
Welcome to the Pod Band Pipecast, the premier pipe band podcast.
Yay!
You did it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. This is our 5th episode, and it's super exciting because we have a piper, other than my mom, in the studio. We'll introduce Foster in a minute, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who is watching and listening. We honestly did not expect this to be that popular.
This quickly, at least.
Yeah, but we're so glad that you guys are finding this helpful, and it's, really cool for us and inspirational to keep us going. So we're really excited for our next few episodes. I also have to give a shout out to Mr. Big Rab Linux. He was one of the first people to actually tell us, good job and welcome to the podcasting world.
He was our first patron.
He was.
Yeah.
He was the first paid subscriber. So we're gonna send him something nice, and I hope you guys tune into his podcast to see what we sent him.
The Big Rab Show.
The Big Rab Show. It is, if you are in the pipe band world and you don't know about the Big Rab Show, I don't know what you've been doing with your life.
Are you in the pipe band world?
I know, for real.
Oh, wow.
Come on, Foster, get educated.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so anyway, he is fantastic. His podcast is fantastic. We highly recommend that you go listen to it. We kind of were joking about the premier pipe band podcast thing, and he was like, oh, you're the premier one. Which, for those of you that don't know him, it's kind of like the equivalent would be like if you took a video of yourself playing basketball and shooting hoops and oh man, I'm the best in the world, and Michael Jordan commented oh, best in the world, huh? That's kind of what it was like for us. So yeah, we had to have that little American sense of oh, we're the best, right?
No, we are
the best
It's
podcast in pipe band history perhaps ever.
Oh,
right?
Maybe.
Anyway, yeah, thank you so much for watching and or listening, and we'll get on with the show after.
So we have Foster here,
Hello.
and he wrote our intro music.
Yay, Foster!
Woo!
Thank you very much. It took me quite a while to write that.
It was the first tune he's ever written, and
It
it's
is.
not even really a full tune.
No, it's not.
I think you should finish it.
At this rate, it's going to take me at least 2 years to finish.
You
that. With the
better
rate
hop
I
on
wrote
that.
that little 10-second ditty. So
That's okay. We have time. I mean, send us a comment or an email if you want to hear Foster's finished tune.
oh no.
It'll be great. I believe in
Hopefully.
you.
All right.
You better
More
start to
faith
work.
than I have in
Do
myself.
you guys believe in him? I think you. Yeah,
I think they believe in him.
I think they believe in
I
him.
think we all believe in him.
Oh,
We're
thank you.
channeling
Yeah.
our energy to you to write this
I
tune.
will. Give me a few more weeks, I guess.
All right, everyone. So this is Foster Burton, and he is a piper in our band. And we're going to let Foster do a little introduction of himself, talk about where he came from, what got him into piping in the first place, and where he's at now, what he's up to. Take it away.
So my name's Foster Burton. I've been with the pipe band for the last 15 years of my life.
And how old are you?
I'm 21. Yeah, so I've been with the pipe band for 15 years. I actually started lessons when I was 6 years old with your mom, Kaylee, Diane.
Who was on our podcast a couple episodes ago, if you watched.
Yeah, so my grandfather was in the Caledonian Society with Clan MacDonald, and we used to go to they were then the Mesa Highland Games, when they were back at Mesa Community College. And I used to go there every single year. And then at the age of 6 for Christmas, my grandfather got me.
He's got a prop.
Got things?
For
man.
our listeners who can't see, he's brought something to show.
Yeah, he got me a practice chanter. This isn't the one that he got me, but yeah, he got me a practice chanter. And so at the next Highland Games, I went to the Highland Games like we did every single year, and we were walking around, and my parents took me to the Mesa Caledonian bagpipe tent because I live in Mesa, Arizona also, and so we go up there, and I'm like, I want to learn, I want to take lessons. And so Diane looks at me at a 6-year-old and is like, you are tiny. In her brain, she was like, you are tiny. I don't know if you can do this. So, I started taking lessons at 6. And I think I finally got into a set of bagpipes because I was just so small at the age of 9 or 10. that's when I finally was able to play a full set of bagpipes, and I started with like mass bands at the Phoenix Highland Games once they moved, and then from there I progressed, played in grade 4 for 3 or 4 years, moved up to the grade 3, and now I'm assisting that. So
yeah. Foster is a really great influence to have around the pipe band because he really enjoys it. He's a really positive energy kind of person, and he's always willing to do like, he's one of those pipers that's always willing to do like not the crazy things, but like, you know what I mean? They're willing to go the extra mile for you. Like when we ask him, hey, we're going to make a podcast. Will you write a tune for us?
And we gave him a week deadline.
Yeah. When are you guys going to put out your first episode? Next week.
Yeah, I love the Forrest Gump waving his hand.
Yes.
Like, where are you? Where's our tune?
That's right. I did send him a GIF on like a couple days later and was like, hey, you didn't respond. It was just Forrest Gump. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, I got the message loud and clear.
Yeah, so we really appreciate Foster coming on our show and talking about being a piper.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we have some technical questions for Foster, and they're a lot of focused on like music theory. We're not yet going to go into the pipe band or the pipe band and bagpiping history because that is just there's a lot to it, and
a lot to unpack.
That's for more episodes in the future. I'm not going to say one future episode. I'm going to say like a million.
Oh no,
because there's a lot. But anyway, we brought Foster on here because he's actually very musically talented. Would you like to talk about what other instruments you play?
Yeah. So I started playing. Oh, I started on the bagpipes actually originally at 6, but at the age of 8, my dad gave me a trumpet and told me you are going to learn this instrument.
Got tired of the bagpipes?
No, my dad used to be a music teacher actually.
Oh.
And so yeah, he was like, we're going to push music instead of football. And so I started learning the trumpet at the age of 8, and then did that until high school. I played a little bit in college with some of the other ensembles at Northern Arizona University. I played in the jazz band there, and I played 1 semester of concert band. But yeah, I did that for quite a few years. I played trumpet, played a little bit of euphonium in elementary school. But
nice. Yeah. So he's kind of an interesting case in the pipe band world I've found. I don't know about you, but a lot of people either came from, they only play bagpipes, they've only ever played bagpipes, that's all they've done, and that's it. Or they've played other instruments and they're like, oh, let's give bagpipes a try. It's not that hard, right?
Oh. Yeah, that's it's really funny. So I'm actually in a music fraternity up at NAU, and that's what all of my brothers give me. They're like, oh, I can pick them up in a minute and be playing, and I'm just like,
right.
I can give you, I'll take a $50 bet that you were not able to do that on your first try and be able to play.
How long do you think it takes to be able to play them?
Like with previous music background, I feel like it would go faster because it's like if you came from like an instrument like clarinet or saxophone, like where it's a lot of two-handed finger heavy instruments, I feel like that'd be a little bit more like, I guess, in your brain repeatable, since it's something that you're already used to. But I would still say it's going to take you a few years to be I would say well off enough to be like sustainable in playing. There's just so much that goes into it. Right.
That's tough to keep going, right? I mean, I'm sure when you're learning it, you're like, oh man.
Oh, definitely. So like people don't understand, like with bagpipes, like it's an inflatable bag that's airtight, but in that you have 3 drones that sit on your shoulder that all have reeds that you have to like power to play, and then you have a chanter that like you move your fingers on, which like makes the audible sound for us. It's a double reed. It looks like, for those who know, like a bassoon. It looks similar to a bassoon reed, and there's just so much air that's necessary, and it's all airtight when everything's working correctly. But like for beginners, like you just don't have that lung capacity. You don't have the arm strength in your arms to just like continuously go. Like you just run out of breath. If I take a break and don't play for a few weeks, like I come back and I'm exhausted after like our 30-minute tuning session with the pipe band. So yeah, it's a bugger.
Yeah, that kind of brings us into our next question. So we wanted this episode to bridge the gap between those 2 levels of pipers, where you either know a lot about other instruments and like not as much about bagpipes coming into it, or you've only ever known about bagpipes. So could you speak to like what is different about bagpipes as opposed to other instruments?
Well, like what I was saying, like, definitely just, I guess, and the difference is number one, just air support in an instrument. Cause like, like when I play my trumpet, you're blowing a direct air, like stream of air through your instrument, and that's the tone you're going to get. But like with bagpipes, you're blowing into a bag, but that bag, like blowing into the bag is not what's creating the sound. Truly, it's like you have to have a consistent like left arm pressure on the bag, and like when you breathe, you have to squeeze more because there's no airflow going into the bag. And then just in general, the note, like how notes are played, like music isn't the same in the bagpipe world as it is in, I would say, in classical music. Like that's something that me and my second pipe teacher, Chris, who is your uncle,
who's our pipe major,
who's also our pipe major of our pipe band. That's like stuff that me and like he's had to break into me for multiple years, is like the correct like phrasings and how he stuff, like the idioms, and like when you see music, 2 16th notes might not always be 2 straight 16th notes, because bagpipe music was passed down from person to person by how they played it. It was never really truly written down until the 20th century, I would say. And so it's not always, I would say, musically accurate in how it's depicted when it's written down. Right.
And drummers can even see that too with a lot of our stuff we play. It's like, well, yeah, those are 2/8 notes, but the way the pipers are playing them, it's more like a dotted eighth than a 16th.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's really fascinating, because I play other instruments too, and so does Adela.
Yeah.
And we've like grown up with that same idea of like in classical music, it's an 1/8 note. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And like classical musicians get very upset if you're just like, just kind of do that, but also do, you know.
Our producer also gets very upset about that.
Yes.
Don't worry, like I get very upset too. And some of our practices when Chris is having us really overemphasize things to get his point across, we're going to hold something way outside the realms that he even tells me, he's like, we're not going to hold it that long when we actually play it, but I want to get it across. Like it upsets me because I'm like, this is not how you do this. Like it's just, it's not how, it's a lot different than what I've been practicing
forever.
Well, I guess practicing both at the same time, like it's conflicting ideas that you have to separate in your mind.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything other than like the notes? I mean, I know we were talking earlier about tuning.
So tuning is insane when you mention it to a classical musician. So like most orchestras in the United States, and it's tuned to A440, which is what we tune to in music.
Tell me what that means. What is an A440?
I would assume it's the note A is resonating at 440 hertz.
Okay.
Correct. Good answer.
That's what
you passed.
I looked it up before because I also had the same question. So
yeah.
Fact checked and confirmed.
Okay. My limited knowledge on what I learned in physics 2 came across. Okay. But with bagpipes, what blew my dad away and what still blows everybody I tell away, we currently, our pipe band is tuning into around A484.
Which is crazy.
Which is insanely sharp in the music world.
So for people who maybe still don't entirely understand what that means, it means that basically if 440 is where you're normally tuning to, anything higher than that is super, super sharp, which means a higher pitch. Anything lower than that,
I think it's a step and a half up from what, like if I was playing an A and an instrument on C is playing an A, I think it's like 1.5 steps up high, like sharper. I could be wrong about that.
It really doesn't sound like an A to a classical musician.
No.
You'll hear it and you're like, oh, that bagpiper's out of tune. But maybe they are out of tune. But generally it's it's just a lot sharper than people are used to.
It's a lot sharper. And playing when people ask bagpipe players to play with classical musicians, we have to explain to them it's really, really difficult for us to do that. And the way we get around that now is, at least is we play with B flat channers, which for people who want to know, it's when instead of playing a low A, which would be all fingers down except for your pinky, that's a low A. that would then be a B flat instead. And that allows our instrument to be flatter, but it then changes like the key signature for what like we write our music in. But like the whole, like relatively, it flattens the entire chanter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually did a concert with the Arizona Wind Symphony where I was playing a solo with them. And so I had to use a B flat chanter. So you tune the low A to like a regular tuner. Like you can grab it out, play low A, and once the B flat's in tune, you just tune everything relative to that, so it sounds like a regular bagpipe. So. And
you were one of the pipers that played with the piano guys a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
How did that go?
That was a very stressful one, because that was the first time I think for our pipe band, and at least quite a while we played with a ensemble, especially in a theater that large of a sold out Commaker Theater in Phoenix. Like that was. You walk out on a stage and you're just like, that's more people than I've seen in my entire life. And so that's crazy. That's stressful, but like we sounded really good. We spent a lot of time practicing and tuning and making sure that we all sounded good together.
Yeah.
And then we actually did it twice.
Really? I didn't know that.
They came back 2 years later, I think, a year later, 2 years later, and we played with them again. So that was really fun.
Good work. Yeah, I remember Chris saying like, "Oh, I was really depending on Foster because he's one of the people who's never played any other instruments." Yeah. So he was like, let's tune to whatever."
Yeah, I ended up working it out for a system. So I was doing like 2 or 3 tuners to get us all set. Thankfully, we weren't using drones because that would have
been super stressful.
Else. But going back to your original question, the other thing that differentiates the bagpipes for other instruments is we only have 9 notes.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, so that gets it. You would feel like would limit the number of new tunes that people can write, but yeah,
but not really.
Not really. It seems to be an endless amount with 3 different Scott Scard books full of hundreds of tunes, and then you have everybody coming out with new tunes constantly. Like there's so much to memorize. Chris will pull a tune out of his head and be like, do you know what tune this is? I'm like, no.
I gotta learn another one.
Yeah, really. Oh, to practice here's a tune that I want you to memorize by next week. I'm like, okay.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, guess I'm doing this now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then it's another weird thing that happens is when people ask you to play like the Star Spangled Banner, right?
Oh yeah, when you play like the Star Spangled Banner is hard because like we don't have the notes. So like when people usually go up into whatever word it is, and like the Star Spangled Banner, like when they go up the octave, like we can't do that. So we end up like playing down, which sounds different. I think we also have to modulate it halfway through because we don't like it. It doesn't sound right, and so we have to start like we have to work around it and make it sound close enough where people can get what we're trying to play.
So you're really just like, no, you don't want that.
Yeah, you really don't. Like, these aren't an American instrument. We're not going to be able to play American music.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I know you brought your pipes tonight. Do you want to do a little demonstration?
Yeah.
This might be like, while he's getting those out, this might be like rudimentary for people who already play bagpipes. But the thing that we really stress in our band a lot is that when you're at different events, like we do a lot of events at churches or schools or libraries, sometimes you have the opportunity to teach about your instrument. And
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
They're so big.
And once again, for our viewers in the UK, this is going to sound crazy, but in the US, and I'm sure in a lot of other places in the world, they don't know what bagpipes are. So they the average person will look at bagpipes and be like, what is that? How are you making noise?
Yeah. My mom works at an elementary school actually. And they have she'll have me come in and work with the kid, just come in and play for the kids every once in a while. Cause she works at a low income school where kids have never seen bagpipes in their entire life. And so I'll play some music for a bit and then I'll open up to questions. And the number one question I always get is, how do those work? Mm-hmm. They just it's something that, well, I get it from professional musicians too, who they'll just be like, I don't understand how they make sound. And so the number one thing that people don't realize is in the drone stocks, there's a reed in every single one. And so like this is a tenor reed, so it's a little bit shorter, and I'll keep that up for a demonstration for the video people. But so like that's a tenor drone, and then this is a bass drone. And so in them, like the reeds are, this reed's longer because it creates a deeper, a lower note. But so like they're single reeds that vibrate to create the drone sound, that you can adjust this for strength and airflow. But like that creates the drone sound in the bag, which is again completely airtight, because you blow in this end, which has a stopper. I have a valve inside that stops airflow coming back out where I blow in, and then your channer gets plugged in here. And so like there's no way for air to leak out. Like even though there's this giant zipper on the bottom that a lot of people are like, that should just leak. Like it shouldn't. If your pipes are working properly, air should not leak out when it's completely blown up.
I didn't know there was a zipper there.
Yeah, and so from what I've heard, in hide bags they don't have zippers because it's made out of like cowhide or
sheep hide. Yeah.
They'll roll it. They'll have an open end on the back, and they'll roll it and they'll clamp it shut. But I have a zipper on mine, so we can stick drying systems in to the bagpipes.
Can you show us what it's like inside? Is that uncouth? Is that too uncouth to show on the show?
Oh wait. No, yeah. So like on the inside, like this is a synthetic / hybrid hide bag. So on the inside it's just synthetic material. And then like this is the drying system that I have.
That? I didn't know there was things in there.
Yeah, so like this stops our pipes from like in, I would say, more humid weather. So like when we travel to California for Highland Games, it can get really wet, like from hot air going in, condensation, and then our drone reeds can shut off, or our channer reeds can shut off. And so the moisture system, it absorbs the moisture when air travels through it, so it doesn't shut off our reeds, and so that way you're able to play for longer periods of time.
This is fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
For those of you that maybe don't know, we do have video feeds posted on our Patreon. So if you sign up for the low price of $5 per month, you can view this beautiful demonstration and all of our other amazing bonus content we have,
and early access
to the podcast. So
yes.
you can be listening to these and watching these on Saturdays or Sundays instead of just Mondays.
Dang.
That was our
Fun.
shameless pitch real quick.
That's a nice plug.
Yeah. So from what I understand about bagpipes, pipe maintenance is extremely important.
Oh, it is. That's something that Chris preaches constantly to the pipe band, because like when you're tuning a drone, I'm just gonna grab the bass drone real fast. Like, so like I'll just do it this way. So like we tune ours, so the bass drone like would go on here, and there's hemp. We use wax hemp, because if you don't use wax hemp, it has the possibility of absorbing more moisture, and then they can get locked if you play for long periods of time, which can crack the wood, and then you have to buy a new set of bagpipes, which is really expensive.
Really expensive.
So like when you're tuning, you want them to, like, they go in and they lock, and they're firm, but like you can still move, like you can still tune by like just using 2 fingers, because there's some our issues is like when people have them, there's too much hemp on them. And like we're trying to tune your drones, and we have to use like 2 full hands to get them to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like it slows us down, but it puts your instrument at risk of being damaged, which we don't want. And a lot of that issue comes a lot with where your drones go into the stocks. You'll go to, like, say somebody's drones, they need to come up. Everything will pull straight out, and then you've got basically a dead octopus in your hand, and you're just like, yeah, which is the worst experience ever.
That.
That's some flailing for those that can't see.
Hand flailing.
Especially with new beginners, like it falls apart in their hands, and they're just like, I don't know how to.
I don't know how to bagpipe.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of ends of pipes held together by cord, and now I don't know how to hold it. So yeah, it's a big issue. Same with checking and making sure your bag doesn't have a leak in it.
Mm-hmm.
So because a lot of people will be like, oh, my pipes have gotten hard, I need a new reed, my reed's starting to die, or this reed's too hard, I need to get an easier one, or have somebody shave it for me so it plays easier. And it's like, maybe you should plug up take out your drone stocks, cork everything up, blow it up, and make sure that there's not a leak somewhere, like at the zipper seams where like that's irreplaceable.
Mhm.
Or if around the notches of the drones, like random places to leak. I'm very unfortunate.
And you can't always tell where they are, right? You're just
No.
like, oh, okay.
You'll hear hissing and you'll try your best, and like you're not supposed to do it. And so like the only way to check is if you don't get in water, which like once you do that, like you have a high chance of ruining your bag. So, but
That's exciting. Do you want to talk about the chanter at all? Did you bring your chanter?
yeah, I did. It's so where is it? Yeah, here's my chanter. So with chanters, so like there's a chanter reed for us. Like looks like a little oboe for the or bassoon reed for those who have video. But with it, like when we tune, like you push the reed in and out, but in the 9 holes, like when a note is sharp, there's not much you can do with changing the tuning on it because the 9 holes are pre-carved. And so what we have to do is we use electrical tape. The most high-tech ways of tuning a bagpipe is, if it's sharp, we put tape over the hole to bring it flat. And if it's flat and you have tape on it, you take the tape off and it goes back to being sharp.
And you're not covering the hole completely, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah, if you cover it completely, it'll stop
I would
playing.
assume.
It'll make no noise.
Or the note starts to sound very hollow because there's not strong airflow passing through it, which leads to bad, like not bad sounding, but very hollow and quiet sounding bagpipes. The unfortunate thing is when you have a pipe hole, or you have a hole on your chanter that is flat with no tape on it, and all the other notes are in tune. The only way to bring it out is to carve a hole in it.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
Yeah, which Chris has carved my high A, my high G, my high F, my D, my low A, and then of course when I got a new reed, we had to tape all those holes up because so yeah, it just depends on the reed, how it plays, how you blow, because that's something we learned in Scotland here out in the desert. So our top hand goes so sharp. The person we were working with out there, he was telling us that we were underblowing our whole top hand in Scotland because it tunes perfectly there because of the humidity. So that's something we have made adjustments to make sure that we play properly. But yeah,
bagpipes are complicated.
They really are. They're an interesting instrument that I think if people have the opportunity to learn, it's definitely something that will set you apart from everybody else.
Now, what's that green thing you got there?
So this is something that the pipe band has been trying out. It's just a little cap that has a humidity pack in it that has around it's supposed to keep the reed around 84% humidity, which keeps moisture in the reeds, so that they don't dry out and become brittle. And then it allows us when we're playing to when we put them into play, they already have a little bit of moisture in. It keeps them around what the moisture level inside pipes apparently.
Okay.
Apparently, from what we were told. But yeah, I've noticed a complete difference. I know Chris thinks the same thing, but yeah, it just allows us to come in playing a little bit more efficiently. Saves us some time in tuning. Keeps the reeds.
Does it save you some time in tuning? Because it sure doesn't seem like it.
If you were in the pipe band back when I was around 10 or 11, it used to take us around an hour to tune.
Oh, it was terrible.
Jeez.
It was awful.
It was long periods of time of green hills over and over and over again. But now we put them in and we can get people tuned within the first 10-15 minutes of band, go around, make small adjustments to people who need it. A lot of the time you're waiting is we're just practicing run throughs with the new people so that they can get used to playing with the band. So
yeah. Tuning is huge for bagpipes. I know. And for those that maybe aren't around a pipe band or whatever.
What?
I don't know.
Not around a pipe band.
Yeah.
But don't get our jokes about it takes forever to tune. Like literally they tune all the time because it is that important.
Yeah, if you one of the things that Chris always has been teaching me with the pipe band is like when we go to competitions and we tune in the shade, or he'll have us tune in the environment that we're going to go play in. So if the competition circle that we're marching into is in the shade, he'll do the best he can to have us tune in the shade. if we're standing in the sun for our competition, we'll try to limit our tuning in the sun because the sun is so hot and can do so much with tuning, with bringing everybody super sharp, that we try to limit it, but we're going to try to tune up in the sun so that we keep that environment of how we play so it doesn't affect it. Because if you have half the band in the shade, half the band in the sun, you have people going 2 different directions, with shade and getting flat and then the sun getting sharp.
So you're telling me if I go outside at night and tune my pipes, or night was probably a bad example, if I go under a tree and tune my pipes and then I step out into the sun, I'm going to have to retune them?
Yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah. Well, you should. And it's the whole joke is that I always make is like, oh, I don't need to tune. I'm just gonna super glue my pipes in place. I got tuned by a grade 1 piper.
Oh, okay.
Like, no, once you're in tune, like you're set for life. Straight out of the box, pre-tuned.
All good.
Yeah. Like one of the things I had was a little hurtful for me one time was I was playing with a group, with a band, and this guy turns around and he's like, "You're a bit flat," and I'm like, "Cool. Let me go spend 30 minutes tuning so I can come back and do this rehearsal on time." Like,
yeah,
like other musicians, it's really hard for them to realize it's now or never once we're tuned. We don't have the luxury to pull out a tuning slide and then be perfectly in tune. Like we have 9 notes that all tune individually, and so it's
then
difficult.
3 drones.
Yeah, like.
Just a big mess.
A giant squeeze bag that likes to do what it wants.
That apparently is not empty. I always thought it was empty. I don't know why.
Well, when I bought mine, I didn't have a drying system in for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Like you don't need one, but you should have one.
So it's mostly empty if you don't have the nice things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because drying systems can be a little pricey, but they're for beginners, like they're not going to have any in there, but like hopefully once you're getting into competition level, like you should I would highly recommend people invest in them. It saves you a lot of hassle.
And there's a lot of hassle anyway with bagpipes.
Oh, hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Well, so that is pretty much all we have for you guys today. I want you guys to go on to our Facebook page or just send us an email. Let us know what you think of Foster's description of bagpipes. Once again, we do really encourage all our pipers and drummers to know how their instrument works, know how to tune, know how to explain it if you're ever in the position where you do need to explain it, which is like all the time for us in Arizona because it's freaking Arizona and people don't know what bagpipes are. So yeah, let us know what you think, and if you have any experiences where funny stories of you trying to explain your instrument or whatever you want to share with us, that would be great. Our next episode, we're going to have Foster explain to us some of the finer points of pipe band music.
Okay, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in next week. Thank you. Tune in. Get it?
Tune.
Tune. Especially if you're a piper. Stay tuned. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.